Morning from Llandudno. I'm just out on the seafront here. As you can see, the waves behind me. Things finished pretty late last night. The programme ran on, as these things often do, so I thought rather than try and film something then, I'd try and check in with you this morning and just go over some of the stuff that was discussed. As I said, I think they tried to cram in a lot more than they would have been able to, and so there was quite a lot of stuff that was sort of cut out of the programme that was supposed to be in there. Bishop Andy from Bangor was intending to say something, and just because of time, very graciously decided that he would forego that. Anyway, last night's main session, after some opening worship, which Mark Clavier, the acting principal at St Mike's College, preached at, which really good call to us to remember that where we are first and foremost should be about being God's people and people within God's kingdom. And then we went on to, after dinner, the first main session, talking about where are we, what's the situation at the moment, what's some of the innovation that's beginning to happen in the church in Wales at the moment. And it featured presentations from all the different dioceses around these different themes that summed up the kind of change that's happening at the moment. So change is first of all creative, second strategic, thirdly it encourages the gifts of all, fourth it's structural, and fifth finally it changes what ministry and church look like. So there were lots of different presentations there, which was fantastic. St Asaph Youth Forum opened things up. Two of the young people who have been involved in that, been involved in just beginning to shape a vision for reaching and connecting with young people in the Diocese of St Asaph, and also involving them in decision making. It's really interesting. It's something that we haven't talked about a whole lot in terms of all the 2020 vision stuff, is how do we actually involve young people in the decision making process and in the whole process of consultation around what's happening. Perhaps something for us to be chatting about in the Diocese of Monmouth, really. Other highlights, there was some conversation about Messy Church, presentation about that and the way that that's encouraged the gifts of many people who otherwise wouldn't have the chance to do stuff like that. It's interesting, sort of relates into a kind of observation about pioneer ministry really in general. Often pioneer ministry, the people who are involved in it and finding new ways of being and doing church, are those who previously would have struggled to fit in, and have always been struggling to work out, well, where do I fit in with this whole church thing? Where does my ministry fit? And I think pioneer ministry often for people can awaken something, because it awakens a call in them that they always knew they had that sense of not fitting in, what Johnny Baker calls, from CMS, calls the gift of not fitting in. It gives them a new vision of ministry and a way of fitting that perhaps they didn't have before. Talked a little bit about structures, but actually a lot of the focus of the conversation has been on this kind of cultural change. It's been quite outward looking, which has been fantastic. It's fair to say the vibe of the overall conference has been actually not what I expected. It's been incredibly positive. I think even for some of the more cynical, of whom I perhaps at times am one, we can begin to think, maybe there's something happening here. Maybe there's a momentum which is growing here around change, around transforming who we are as God's people, which is really interesting. And I guess that's kind of summed up in the final event of the night, which was this sort of local comedy club case study. Tim Feek from St Asaph Diocese was fantastic, talking about these comedy club nights that they've been doing in the diocese, and how that's drawn people in who otherwise wouldn't connect with church. And then we had a sort of a practical example of that. They brought on kind of stand-up act, and yeah, people really got into it. And the evening finished with a sort of major crowd surfing across the conference hall from this lady comedian. I can't remember what her name is. But there we are. So that was day one here. Very busy. Quite exciting. Lots of different sort of nuggets to pick up on, which is fantastic. Today we're looking at, firstly, who are we? Are there enough of us? How can we shape ourselves for the task ahead? And then finishing on that note of why are we here? What is it that God's calling us to do? So I'll check in with you later on. Cheers. Bye.